Hey, it's Brock here with Rock Hill Farm, and today we're getting back to work on the trail build. But we're going to be doing it a little bit different than what we've been doing in the past. So let me show you what I'm talking about. We'll start with a recap of what this project is. I'm cutting a trail across my 20-acre property. There are parts of the property I've never been able to access, and I'm trying to fix that problem with this path right here. And you can see all of this rock was removed from here to make this drivable. And as we come up here around the corner, I've mentioned a few times I'm going to change the way this is routed, but I don't want to do that yet. What I want to do is make one access point all the way across the property, then we'll come back through and work on widening and top dressing. So this is what the property looks like naturally before I started working on it. And obviously, that's why the channel's called Rock Hill Farm. I have about 60-70% of my property is perfect flat farm ground, and then the rest is a hill made out of solid rock. Now, most of this work has been done with the mini excavator, but today the tractor takes over, and that's because we've reached a different point in this trail build. So it's been a fight to even get any machine up here. But now we've solved that problem. So now that we've got the machines up here, we've also got the property line marked. That tree has orange paint on it. It represents the property line. And as we move forward, there are more trees down here that are marked to represent the property line. And there are still a lot of rocks here. Like when this is done, this rock isn't going to be here. I'm going to dig that out, probably with the excavator. But the tractor can drive across this. And what I need to do right now is map out exactly where this trail is going to go. Through here. You know, where exactly does it fall? And what I want the next result to be is just the ability to drive the length of the property. So as we come up here, that's our next set of marks. You can see that paint right there. So we may have to remove some of these rocks before we can make it all the way across the property. But for today, I might be able to detour around those and just continue driving across. So what we're going to be doing right now is brush cutting with the tractor up here. But I still have to navigate around these big stones. And we're going to be doing that possibly with the 3-point cutter, because that 3-point Rhino Ag cutter is the heaviest cutting capacity piece of equipment I have. But I think mostly we're going to be using the Lane Shark, because it can fit into tight spaces and trim vertically and trim from the top down. So this is the Lane Shark Hammerhead. To my knowledge, this is the biggest cutter that Lane Shark makes to go on the front of a tractor. And what's really cool about this one, the older or the smaller Lane Sharks, you would pull a pin and you would manually pull this out and then lock it in, and then you would manually stand the head up and lock it in. This one operates fully hydraulically, that you've got cylinders here that extend this boom into whatever configuration you want, which makes it much faster and more efficient to do your brush cutting. So right now, if I can get the tractor to drive up this incline right here that doesn't look like much, but actually is, if I can get up here, we're just going to start cutting our way through the woods. We're going to create a lane with the Lane Shark. So we started the video right here, and we've worked up just past where the mini skid steer sits. And we're able to do that because for the most part, these rocks aren't sticking up so far that they're getting hit by the brush cutter. Now we've run into a little bit of a problem with that. When I get up here, if I leave those rocks, I can only cut these off at a height that turns them into tire poppers. And that gives me, doing that would give me access to see where we're going with this trail, but it really doesn't make it passable. I don't want to drive the side-by-side across those tire popper nubs. So I want to see if I can remove some of these rocks within clusters. And the mini excavator is the right machine for that. This mini skid steer is not the right machine for that, and I've demonstrated why in other videos. But I have a reason for not using the mini excavator today, and I'm not going to tell you about it in this video. I've got a few different things going on that's going to give me some different variety of equipment here on the channel. And mostly it's temporary stuff, some swaps. But for right now, we don't have access to the mini excavator. So we're going to try using the mini skid steer. And if that doesn't work, I could bring a grapple or a stump bucket or something up here and use the tractor. But I'd rather not switch attachments on the tractor. I'd rather have one machine for rocks and one machine for cutting back the saplings. So last week I brought the mini skid steer up here and made a video basically saying that it was worthless for this type of work. And then, because it's what I had, I just made it work. And part of that is just getting better with the equipment. But I think you can probably also see what the downside to this is. There's no weight on the front of the machine. All the weight's on the back. So whenever I try to put down pressure and drive forward, the machine just tilts up. And when it tilts up, there's no pressure on the tracks and it can't push. And then it throws it around when you drive over uneven ground. So it's challenging for what this project involves, but obviously not impossible. As you watch this, you're gonna see me bang this blade, these cutting blades, on rocks a few times, which obviously wears them out a lot faster. And for a lot of the ways I use this lane shark attachment, you've got great visibility. But when you're working with it down at ground level, right in front of you, it's really hard to see those rocks or how close you are to them. Okay, so we've already traveled from behind where the side-by-side was all the way up here. And I think the next thing I'm going to do is remove these rocks right here with the mini skid so that I can knock these trees down a little bit lower to the ground. But if you see ahead of me, there's orange paint on that log up there. And we've got some orange paint right here. So the trail should continue right here. But if you look at the size of these rocks, that I may need the excavator for that. The mini skid won't do anything to these. Those rocks may weigh several thousand pounds. I mean, I'm seeing one rock there that's at least 4 foot wide, and they may, that may be a 3,000 pound rock. I don't know. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a detour around this little rock pile, just a little short detour, and then continue my progress so that we can get somewhere today. And then this will be tackled later when I'm tasked with widening out the trail. Okay, let's try to get some perspective on where we're at. We have come a long, long way up here and then over and then up and then over again. And when you watch the drone footage of my property, I was standing on a log and I was really excited and oh my gosh, this area next to this log might be my property and I never thought it was. That's the log I was standing on when I realized that this over here is some of the best area on the property that I didn't know I had. I already said I want the trail to go right here, but those boulders are just so huge that we're going to detour around them today. And I think we're going to come right here because I can cut right here without removing any rock. That jogs us over here to my favorite log. And then we'll probably go back through here. Here is that flat clearing that I've been wanting to get to. And you can see how open this is. The deer come through here all the time. You can kind of see little trails. Like, I think these are just deer trails right here. And I might bring my trail for today all the way over here, then cut up this way. Because this would be such easy cutting to establish where the trail is. And we would continue coming this way. And then exit out that way. So let's see if we can make a lot of ground in a little bit of time. The lane shark did all of this pretty quickly. it's just shredding. This was pretty thick, you know. I'd never even been able to hardly walk back here until recently. And now I think I'm gonna turn around because this is so open. I think I'm gonna turn around and just back over this with the brush cutter on the 3-point, the Rhino Ag. It's got an even higher capacity and it doesn't work the tractor as hard using it. I think I'm gonna go right through here and just drive backward and make a trail this way as far as I can go. We're making progress fast now as it's opening up. And as I come back through here, you know, I may be digging some rocks out to widen this and doing some different things, but for right now, I'm excited with how much progress I'm making. So I got the drone out to record the next section of brush cutting, but I thought I'd give you a little overview of where we're at on the property right now. You can see the very bottom of the screen right now is where the trail starts. And you can see where it comes up and makes that jog that I'm going to reroute at some point. And then you can see me standing there next to the tractor. So we're about halfway across the property, and I'll give you a look in just a minute of where we're going with that. But this Rhino Ag cutter handles this bigger material no problem at all. And I can work through it faster than I can with the Lane Shark, assuming I'm able to cut at ground level. I knew things were going to progress quickly once I got up onto flat ground, but I didn't think in my wildest dreams that we would make it all the way across the property today. But I was wrong, and I'm very glad to be wrong in this instance. Now I want to show you the other view of the property. So the side-by-side is about halfway up. That's actually further along than where we started the day. And then you can see where we're at in the video progress right now by where the tractor is at. And what we have left is right below me. So now we've turned it around the other way, and you can see from where the tractor is at the bottom of the screen how far we have to go to the clearing. And most of that went quickly, but that last stretch was a real booger to get through. Okay, so at this point, I'm almost all the way across the property. And you can see, or maybe you can't see, that yellow line is the property line. This is what we've crossed. And this is not updated, this is just a map, but it plots my map onto the location. So we came up here, made kind of a loop around stuff, and are back at the property line. And we've only got about an inch left to go. So all of this is already clear and open. All of this is clear and open. We've got that last little bit right there to poke through. And what I was checking was to make sure that whenever I looped back around, I didn't cross the property line. So now I just need to continue brush cutting straight back until I can't no more. I think I'll throw the camera in the cab with me for a little bit, but I'm going to show you what I'm going to do first is cut a little bit of this back so that I can have a spot to turn around, because I want to turn the tractor around and then go right through here. I just found some orange paint right over here, so I know where we're at again. Even though I found it on the map, and the map said the same thing, it's nice to see that paint. Okay. We are pretty close to breaking through here. I think I'm going to turn around and run the other brush cutter, the 3-point brush cutter, through here. And even like this big stuff, it'll chop that up. But I just kind of wanted to make sure that there's solid footing back here. And it looks like there is. I was essentially checking to make sure there weren't any big holes or drop-offs or boulders I was going to hit. And I can definitely brush cut back to here through all of that. And then we've got this hill, but I should be able to brush cut across this hill and get back to here. And then it's just this last little strip right here that's really rough and rocky that I've got to make a decision on. I might be able to go on this side of this tree, but we'll get back here and find out. So as I was mowing back here, I took the top off of that rock, which is awful hard on brush cutter blades. And if you stand right here, there's a big drop off from me to right down here. It's probably 6 foot lower. And there's the tractor right there. There's the opening. That's the end of where we're trying to get to. And I can take the tractor right up through here. But then there's about a 15 or 20 foot stretch here that has a 6 foot drop off. I was talking earlier about big rocks. I mean, that rock right there is 6 foot wide. I bet I don't have a machine on the place that can move that rock. But I'm going to see if I can take the tractor and use it like a bulldozer from there to here and push my way through. And we will have our trail done. The initial trail will be done. And then it'll be a matter of cleaning it up more and widening it. I was going to leave the camera here and just work my way up to it. And then I saw what is going to be the biggest obstacle to getting this done. And it's going to basically be that rock right there. If I can move it or I can't. And we're going to find out. If I can move that rock, and this job may wait on the excavator. The size of this material is really pushing it. Oh yeah, and look at this. This is a giant rock. Big rocks, big rocks, big rocks. So I'm so close that I want to finish it tonight, but it's going to be tough sledding, which is why I didn't try to do it with the mini skid. I think this just barely got on camera, but that rock weighs a lot more than 2,800 pounds because I have a 2,800 pound lift capacity and I can't budge it. All we've got is from here to there. No matter how much equipment you have, sometimes you just gotta shut the machine off for a minute, get out, and pick up some rocks and some sticks. Nothing really is designed to pick up little bitty rocks on such an uneven surface, because you can't see them and they fall through the cracks. That's pretty darn steep, but I think the Bighorn can drive up it, which means we have a trail the full length of the property. So we're going to drive the trail in the opposite direction that we built it. Start at the back and come back through. This part's really steep and it's not nearly wide enough. Then up here is where we come into the flat area. There's not that much rock here. I could literally, clear this whole area, clear this whole opening, and build something up here. This needs all the debris raked out of it. It's kind of a mess. So essentially the entire thing is still a work in progress. There's a ton to be done. There's a lot of time to be spent widening the trail. But I'm proud of what I've accomplished here. There will be a lot more videos on building this, but I'm glad to have it to this point. I appreciate you taking time to watch this video. I'll put links on the screen to a couple more of our videos. and I'll see you next time.